My name is Diane Nowd, and I'm going to share with you one of my longtime favorite books about two friends. This book is over 50, well, it was written over 50 years ago. It's called Frog and Toad Are Friends, and the story and the pictures are by Arnold Lobel. The first story is called Spring. Frog ran up the path to Toad's house. He knocked on the front door. There was no answer. "Toad! Toad!" shouted Frog. "Wake up! It is spring!" "Blah!" said a voice from inside the house. "Toad! Toad!" cried Frog. "The sun is shining. The snow is melting. Wake up!" "I am not here," said the voice. Frog walked into the house. It was dark. All the shutters were closed. "Toad, where are you?" called Frog. "Go away," said the voice from a corner in the room. Toad was lying in bed. He had pulled all the covers over his head. Frog pushed Toad out of bed. He pushed him out of the house and onto the front porch. Toad blinked in the bright sun. "Help," said Toad. "I cannot see anything." "Don't be silly," said Frog. "What you see is the clear, warm light of April, and it means that we can begin a whole new year together, Toad." "Think of it," said Frog. "We will skip through the meadows and run through the woods and swim in the river. In the evenings we will sit right here on this front porch and count all the stars." "You can count them, Frog," said Toad. "I will be too tired. I am going back to bed." Toad went back into the house. He got into the bed and pulled the covers over his head again. "But Toad," cried Frog, "you will miss all the fun." "Listen, Frog," said Toad. "How long have I been asleep?" "You have been sleeping since November," said Frog. "Well then," said Toad, "a little more sleep will not hurt me. Come back again and wake me up at about 1/2 May. Good night, Frog." "But Toad," said Frog, "I will be lonely until then." Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Frog looked at Toad's calendar. The November page was still on top. Frog tore off the November page. He tore off the December page, and the January page, the February page, and the March page. He came to the April page. Frog tore off the April page too. Then Frog ran back to Toad's bed. "Toad, Toad, wake up! It is May now." "What?" said Toad. "Can it be May so soon?" "Yes," said Frog. "Look at your calendar." Toad looked at the calendar. The May page was on top. "Why, it is May," said Toad as he climbed out of bed. Then he and Frog ran outside to see how the world was looking in the spring. The letter. Toad was sitting on his front porch. Frog came along and said, "What is the matter, Toad? You are looking so sad." "Yes," said Toad, "this is my sad time of the day. It is the time when I wait for the mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy." "Why is that?" asked Frog. "Because I never get any mail," said Toad. "Not ever?" asked Frog. "No, never," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That is why waiting for the mail is a sad time for me." Frog and Toad sat on the porch, feeling sad together. Then Frog said, "I have to go home now, Toad. There is something that I must do." Frog hurried home. He found a pencil and a piece of paper. he wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope. On the envelope, he wrote, "A letter for Toad." Frog ran out of his house. He saw a snail that he knew. "Snail," said Frog, "please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox." "Sure," said the snail, "right away." Then Frog ran back to Toad's house. Toad was in bed taking a nap. "Toad," said Frog, "I think you should get up and wait for the mail some more." "No," said Toad, "I am tired of waiting for the mail." Frog looked out of the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. "Toad," said Frog, "you never know when someone may send you a letter." "No, no," said Toad, "I do not think anyone will ever send me a letter." Frog looked out of the window. The snail was not there yet. "But Toad," said Frog, "someone may send you a letter today." "Don't be silly," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today." Frog looked out of the window. The snail was still not there. "Frog, why do you keep looking out of the window?" asked Toad. "Because now I am waiting for the mail," said Frog. "But there will not be any," said Toad. "Oh, yes, there will," said Frog, "because I have sent you a letter." "You have?" said Toad. "What did you write in the letter?" Frog said, "I wrote, 'Dear Toad, I am glad that you are my best friend. Your best friend, Frog.'" "Oh," said Toad, "that makes a very good letter." Then Frog and Toad went out onto the front porch to wait for the mail. They sat there, feeling happy together. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog. Toad was very pleased to have it. I'm going to read you a story called Elmore and Pinky, and it's written and illustrated by Holly Hobby. And this is about a set of friends that are very different but very alike in a lot of ways. And it's kind of a story for anyone who believes that true friendship is possible. Elmore had plenty of friends. He lived alone, but he wasn't lonely. He seldom left his dwelling without being greeted by a pleasant neighbor. It gave him a warm feeling. Still, he felt something was missing. A best friend, he thought. A companion, his uncle suggested, helping Elmore over a big word. "Yes, a companion," Elmore repeated. "That's exactly what I mean. Having a bunch of friendly neighbors is not the same as having a best friend." Elmore thought this over, then asked, "How do you get one?" "It just happens," his uncle told him. "You'll know." One afternoon, while Elmore was enjoying a sunny moment, Pinky the skunk came waddling along. "What a beautiful day, Elmore. Can I join you?" asked Pinky. "Please do," said Elmore. "I hear you were looking for a best friend." "How do you find one?" Pinky asked. "According to my uncle, it just happens." "Well, if you're nocturnal, your best friend would have to stay up all night too," said Pinky. "Definitely," Elmore agreed. "He might be out in the woods right now." "It's not happening," Elmore admitted to his uncle. "There don't seem to be any spare best friends around." Maybe you're looking too hard, his uncle suggested. Be patient. There is a best friend for everyone. The next day, while Elmer was contentedly picking blueberries, a bear cub came tumbling toward him, eager to play. Stay back, Elmer cried. You'll get stuck with my quills. Stay back. But the cub came running circles around Elmore. Help! Elmore shouted. With a sudden great commotion, the mother bear burst through some branches. Nothing was more fierce, Elmore knew, than a mother bear protecting her cub. Help! He shouted louder than before. Responding to danger, his body arched into a prickly ball. Help! Then he saw Pinky enter the fray, and an unmistakable scent filled the air. Pinky, cried Elmore, is that you? Snatching up her cub, the mother bear vanished into the woods. You were so brave, Elmore said. You saved me. Bears can't stand the smell of skunk, Pinky said. It makes them faint. I like it, Elmore told him. It's so you. Elmore's blueberry pie came out beautifully, but this was where the best friend came in. More than half the pleasure of a blueberry pie was sharing it. He couldn't wait for Pinky to taste it. Elmore suddenly paused. Yes, he definitely wanted Pinky to be the first to taste it. What did that mean? He asked himself. Pinky was grooming himself near the old fallen birch tree he lived in. You're so clever and kind, Elmore told him. Why don't you have a special friend? No one wants to be best friends with a skunk, Pinky said. I stink. Only in emergencies, Elmore said. But guess what? I've found my best friend. He was right under my nose all along. I can't wait to meet him, said Pinky. It's you, Elmore exclaimed. That is, if you'd like me to be your best friend, too. It just happened, like you said it would, Elmore told his uncle. You make a pair, the uncle told them. I love being nocturnal, Elmore said, and Pinky agreed. The end. Okay, this one is called Shwashby and the Sea. It's written by Beth Ferry, and it's illustrated by Juana Martinez Neal. And this story tells you that it's never too late to make a new friend. Captain Shwashby loved the sea. The sea and he had been friends for a long, long time. She knew him in and out, up and down, and better than anyone. So when Shwashby retired, it was to a small house on a small beach, as close to the sea as he could be. Whenever he needed something, the sea provided exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. Life was just the way Shwashby liked it, salty and sandy and serene, until squeaks and squeals sprang from the empty house next door, which was no longer empty. It had been commandeered by a girl and her granny, who planted umbrellas, scattered beach chairs, and boarded Shwashby's deck without permission. Shwashby battened down the hatches. hid when the doorbell rang, and fed their oatmeal cookies to the gulls. He didn't need neighbors. He didn't want neighbors. Neighbors were nosy, a nuisance, and annoying. So in return, he left a message written clearly in the sand, "No trespassing," which the sea fiddled with just a little bit. "Sing," the girl read, and did just that. She sang every song she knew while dancing up and down Shwashby's deck. "What now?" she asked. "Now vanish," Shwashby wrote later that evening, adding a starfish for an exclamation point. And the sea fiddled just a little. "Wish," the girl read, picking up the starfish, and did just that. She closed her eyes and began, "I wish—" "No, no," Shwashby interrupted, stomping down the steps. "If ye mean to make a starfish wish, ye must say this: Starfish back to waves so blue, the sea will see a wish come true." "How lovely," Granny said. "We wish you'd come for a cup of tea, Mr. Shwashby." But Shwashby needed to be left alone, so he grumbled and mumbled and hurried inside. He didn't need tea. He didn't want tea. Tea was civilized, friendly, neighborly. What he needed was a new message. "Please go away," he wrote firmly in the sand. And once again, the sea fiddled just a little. "Play," the girl sounded out, and did just that, with Shwashby's shells and stones, with his buckets and shovels. But her towers kept falling. "Barnacle Bottom," Shwashby muttered, marching out. "You're doing it all wrong. Ye must not use the sun-baked sand. It's the sea sand does the trick." And he showed her how to dig for the wet sand below. But Shwashby was gone. Before long, amazing sculptures decorated the beach. "It's the clamshells ye should be usin'," Shwashby called from inside. "Come play, Mr. Shwashby," the girl called back. "Shwashbys don't play," he answered, banging the shutters. So the sea decided to meddle more than just a little. She inched her way up the sand and tickled the girl's toes. She nibbled on the sculptures and slurped away the bucket. The girl tried to grab it, but— "Look at me," the girl called. "Look at her," Granny gasped. "Oh dear, look at her." Granny hurried to the water's edge, but Shwashby was already there. "What are ye up to, ye great salty imp?" he asked, scooping up the girl in the bucket. With a great big wave, the sea delivered the pair back to shore, and there was no stopping the laughing and thanking and hugging that was Shwashby's reward. "I see what ye did," he whispered to the sea as he was whisked away to celebrate. After that, it was easy for Shwashby to have tea with the girl and her granny, and ice cream and lobster and s'mores on the beach. It was easy for him to share his special sea glass. It was even easy for him to see that neighbors could be fun and friends and family. And when he had a moment to himself, Shwashby carved a heartfelt message for the sea. "Thank ye, friend," which the sea fiddled with just a little bit. The end.
Thank you for watching Lunenburg Storytime, the books we love. If you'd like to get involved and become a reader, we'd love to have you come into our studio and read a book that you love. Our contact information is lunenburgaccess@gmail.com. So send us an email today and let us know if you'd like to become a reader. Thank you.